All right. Hey, how's it? It's right around 5 p.m. West Coast time. I'm going to call it 2 p.m. Hawaii time, 8 p.m. on that there East Coast, and 7 p.m. for our Central Time folk. I am Mad Statter today, and I am here with a wet head of hair. I thought this would be dried by the time the stream started. Apologies for looking like a raggedy dog, y'all. I did not mean to come so disheveled. But it looks like, disheveled or not, we have got a big old crowd in the house, including Pussycat. By the way, Pussycat, I hope you and Kylo are going to hang out for our Lono listening break. Hint, hint, I think you might know what song it is. And let's see here, we've got Terry in Scotland coming in, and Katie's Aura with Terry in Scotland. And let's see here, Andre saying aloha to everybody. E-Music also saying aloha. And Pussycat, I don't know if I just said hello to you specifically or just talked about the song, but hello to Kylo and you. Let's see here. So E-Music, yep, and Terry in Scotland breaking the news to Andre about his kitty, because Terry apparently was an accidental cat thief. Of course, I think that the cat chose the house. I firmly believe in the cat distribution system, and I think that the cat distribution system was giving Terry good vibes, and then the robotic chips decided, no, one human per one cat per one human. And the cat's like, ¿por qué lo das dos? ¿Por qué no las dos? Why can't I have two? Why not both? But, yep, there we go. And Pussycat, one by one, throwing the rocks to the other side. You better believe it, my friend. That is exactly what's going to be happening in about 45 minutes. But before that, we're going to start our little black cat intro. How about that? Let's do it. And I didn't turn my mic off, so if you heard that big gulp, yes, that was me gulping my coffee. Sorry about that, y'all. All right, so it looks like Andre is throwing out some gift subs already. Thank you so much, Andre. And let's see, did anything else happen besides that? Not besides that, but there we go. We were just playing that out in the backyard. Oh, fantastic. That might have been why I was summoned to pull that song out of the history books and into the stream today. So, oh, awesome, Andre. Thank you so much for the 500 biddies. That is super sweet. All right, you guys. So let's see here. I figured, since it is pretty much midsummer, we could talk about some RedHot Summertime thangs. And it looks like Andre just cheered 400 more biddies. So thank you so much for that. And so starting with the red hot things, I would like to, Terry in Scotland, thank you so much for the 1,000 biddies. I would like to, what would I like to do? Let's see here. Well, actually, hold on. Before I do anything, I need to clarify. For those of you who've been here for the last month or so, couple weeks, whatever, you might have been made aware of, just like, hey, Mama Sean, oh my goodness, not seeing the Twitch stream on the YouTube side. Oh, no, you're not. Why not? Okay, well, Mama Sean, I'm gonna try and fix that in just a few minutes. But before I do that, and thank you so much for letting me know and welcome in. But before I do that, I'm going to call Terry in Scotland out. And Terry, I apologize for calling you out, but you have been fairly open with your situation, and for those of you who might not know, Terry's going to be going under a medical procedure later this week, next week, I'm not sure. And that's what I wanted to clarify. Terry, I had it in my mind that it was July 27th, but July 27th is a Sunday. And I don't know how the hospitals work in the UK, but generally speaking, we don't do surgeries. We don't do planned surgeries on a Sunday. July 28th. Thank you, Terry. That is what I wanted to reinvestigate in my brain. All right. Okay, July 28th is the day. And Andre, thank you so much for 300 more biddies. We're just hitting that hype train level above and above and above. All right, so let's see here. I was going to talk a little bit about Mount Rainier and the Ring of Fire that exists in this world. But before I do that, I want to see if I can trick Restream into doing what it's supposed to do. So, wow. Yeah, it is not doing what it wants to do. So while I do that, what I'm going to do is, so last stream, not the last night stream for the cinema, which by the way, thank you all for coming out and watching the Wolves video. It was a really cute movie. A little bit violent, but pretty cute actually. Oddly enough. But the stream before that, I had a lot of technical difficulties. Mercury wasn't quite in retrograde then. It is in retrograde now. Andy Bumatai also had some incredibly... Honestly, I was kind of glad to see that Andy was having technical problems on his last stream last Friday, because it just made me feel better about my technical difficulties. And at least Andy had the excuse that Mercury was in retrograde for his brouhahas. I'm sure Mercury being in retrograde has nothing to do with it, but it's always nice to pretend. Anyway, clearly we're still in retrograde, and clearly we still have some problems. So I'm going to try to fix them. Last time we had some errors that I was trying to fix. I let you guys watch the first half of a 9-minute video driving along the Hawaiian Islands. So now I'm going to play the second half of that same video, and I'm going to try to get YouTube up to speed with the background technologies that are happening. And then we can actually start our show. So for now, we're gonna go take a little driveway, or not a driveway, a little drive along the way. And I'm gonna have to reset the video for where we left off, so you might get car sick. But let's just do it anyway. All right, let's do it. Boop.
happened to your sister? What have they done to hurt her? Did they cut out her heart? Did they tell her a lie? Was it they made her cry? Will they be back to see her die? Or will they just pass her by? And it's goodbye, California. I'm gonna leave you now, going to where the weather suits my soul. And it's hello, I'm Manalo, I'm coming back to you, looking for a home with a mountain view. Why Manalo? A lot of relatives over there. Mahoys, Kupahus. And it's goodbye, California. I'm gonna leave you now, going to where the weather suits my soul. And it's hello, I'm Manalo, I'm coming back to you, looking for a home with a mountain view. I've been here and there and everywhere, to northern, southern lights. I had your love for women and your dreamless foggy nights. Where's the past like hope? Homeward I am bound, to gather fragrant flowers before it's all been found. And it's goodbye, California, I'm gonna leave you now, going to where the weather suits my soul. And it's hello, I'm Manalo, I'm coming back to you, looking for a home with a mountain view, looking for a homestead mountain view. Why Manalo, coming back to you. Okay.
All right, there we have it. So I figured I'd just finish out the video for all y'all, even though I could have popped back on here about a minute and a half ago. So welcome in, by the way, Trail Dust and Teeter. Good to see you here. So yes, that was the finish of that video that we started a few days ago. Now that every side is good, I'm glad to know that all the peoples can see each other. Terry in Scotland, did I know that the cheek patches are unique to each individual? Okay, well, Terry in Scotland, actually, before that, said he posted on Facebook a little BBC video of orcas off the Shetlands. And did you know that orcas' cheek patches are unique to each individual? I did know that. Their saddle patches are as well. And as Andre pointed out, every variety of orca has a slightly different version of that cheek patch as well. And I did know, Puzzy, that orcas were spotted off of Hawaii too. In fact, I was going to talk a little bit about that, but Andy Bumatai beat me to it. That being said, I want to look into a little more deeply about those orcas that were traveling to Hawaii. I'm very curious as to what pods or classifications those orcas came from. I'm obviously going to assume they are not residents of coastal waters of Mexico, etc., but I'm wondering if they are a transient variety, a deep ocean variety. We're learning more and more about orcas all the time, and so I'm just curious if any of the experts had any hypotheses as to what those ones were and where they originally normally hang out. But even though I wasn't able to, let's see here, what are orcas eating in Hawaii? Hopefully not Hawaiian monk seals. Well, actually, Andre, see, that's the first question that I want answered, is which will help then determine, I guess, but like, are they eating fish or are they eating marine mammals? That was really what I was most curious about. And yeah, Puzzycat, they're probably following the food for certain. I'm just curious what their food is, because if you've hung out here, and a lot of you have hung out here for a while, we know that some orcas only eat marine animals, and some orcas only eat fish. And not only do they only eat what they eat, their jaws and their teeth are developed for their specific food source. And so basically a sea mammal eating orca is probably never going to turn to fish. And a fish-eating orca is most definitely not going to be turning to sea mammals, because they literally do not have the capacity. Their jaws aren't created for that type of killing. And so, and let's see here. So, okay. So, Andre coming in, although rarely seen, killer whales in Hawaiian waters seem to have a more varied diet, including humpback whales, dolphins, octopuses, and squids. Okay, right. So, I think that those are probably more of the deep ocean dwelling orcas, because the Biggs transients, they're the one now when I'm speaking of residents and transients, I'm specifically talking about the Pacific Northwest, Puget Sound area, Salish Sea area. But the Biggs are the ones that eat the mammals, and then the southern and northern residents are the ones that eat the fish. And then there's a whole other kind that we don't really know that much about, because they spend so much time out in the deep water ocean. And so I'm thinking, and this seems most logical, that it's the deep water ocean variety that is seen in Hawaii. But I don't know enough about that to even speak on the topic, which is why I'm very curious. We do, however, have an orca video today that's not about the Hawaiian orcas. It's about a completely different phenomenon that is being witnessed worldwide. We'll get into that a little bit later, though. And so so let's see here. What I did want to Terry and Scotland, chicken of the sea probably, but which orca carries the can opener? I think they're built with a built-in can opener, and empty tuna cans can be a big problem on the beach. Exactly. All right, you guys. So I wanted to talk about this a couple days ago, but it didn't really happen. I basically forgot. And so I've had several people message me this, email me about this, Facebook post about this, and let's see here. I rarely hear about a single orca off the coast of Florida, but we do get great whites here in the winter when the water temperatures drop below 60. Yeah, you know, I don't really know if there's a lot of orcas that are known to traverse the southeastern waters of the United States. I know that in the northeastern, the North Atlantic, they definitely have orcas. But yeah, I don't know if they're really, if that's really part of their turf, or if there is a species of orca that claims that part of the world as their turf, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But y'all, I am sure that you guys have heard over the past couple weeks, some headlines, and the headlines are created to scare you. I think that a few headlines have scared a few people, enough so that y'all keep asking me about Mount Rainier, and all of the swarms of earthquakes, not eruptions, earthquakes, different E word, earthquakes, the swarms and swarms of earthquakes that have been monitored there recently. And the last bout of these, the last time we had this many earthquakes with such frequency and such intensity was in 2009. So it's not a normal thing, but it's certainly not unheard of. And ultimately, there was a little slide segment on the interwebs that I thought summed things up fairly nicely, because the long and the short of it is, we're not very worried about it here in Seattle or anywhere in the Puget Sound. But to sum it up, we have had past swarms. In 2009, the volcano saw an abnormal cluster of earthquakes, very similar to what we've got right now. And as they say, or as we know, around the world, when seismic swarms happen, volcanoes generally do not experience a larger chance of erupting. That's just how that works. But the scientists have analyzed the earthquakes and gas emissions attributed to them, and it's hydrothermal fluids they're thinking that is causing the earthquakes here in Mount Rainier. This means that hot gas and water were shifting underneath the volcano, different from signs of an eruption where magma builds up and rises. And Mount Rainier is a snow-capped mountain or volcano where hydrothermal activity is very normal. And hey, JBCP13, good to see ya. Yeah, and it's not, and the earthquakes aren't being caused by lava and magma, they're saying. It's just being caused by water movement and hot water movement, basically. And so, the concerns over an imminent eruption may have existed at the time of the earthquakes. If the volcano did erupt, it would have been catastrophic. But the swarms really only confirm shifting environments within the volcano and its surroundings. Without any other evidence to prove the volcano will erupt, it is unlikely that it will. And obviously, vigilance is maintained. But Mount Rainier vigilance is definitely always being Mount Rainier is always being vigilantly watched, which is why we knew about the swarm of earthquakes to begin with. And basically, residents near the volcano should go about their day-to-day lives as normal and just stay tuned for any updates. And this is basically, this is what we live with here in the Pacific Northwest, and this is what we live with a lot of places around the Pacific Ring of Fire. I've got, what do you mean? What? Ring of Fire? Does that mean we're all on fire? No, it just means this part's all on fire. This is the Ring of Fire. Yeah, that's right. There's maps. Did you think we were not going to have a map? And so, look at all these volcanoes all around the Pacific Rim. All of them, if you follow earthquakes, you'll see that we get earthquakes all along these fault lines, all along these volcanic ridges, pretty much on a daily basis. It's really not that big of a deal. But people are saying that, well, it's not just Mount Rainier that's rumbling. There's also some mountains in Alaska that are rumbling. And then there's this one off the shore of Oregon that's just about ready to erupt. And then Kilauea's erupting too. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Shouldn't I be afeared? No, you shouldn't. Here's why. All right, so see this map? See this map right here? This map is part of Alaska. This map is the tiniest in that tiny red square. This is what this map is of. We've got Anchorage up in the upper right-hand corner. We've got Mount Spur. I don't know if you can see Mount Spur, but it's sort of right there. It's all capitalized. And we've got Mount Iliamna. Those are the two volcanoes in Alaska that are currently exhibiting some issues. Okay, now, the axial seamount is the underwater volcano that's gonna explode any minute. It's gonna explode any minute, they say. Well, here's the reality, y'all. Okay? This is all of the, it's gonna explode, isn't it a big deal? These are the locations, okay? So if you see that little red thing in the middle of the blue water, that's the volcano that's a mile underwater, 300 miles off of shore. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to hurt anything. Then just to the left of that, you'll see a red dot. That's approximately where Mount Rainier is. And then if you go up to Alaska and you look at those two red dots, that's where the Mount Spur and Mount Iliamna are. And then if you go way down south, you can see where Hawaii is, and that little red dot, that's Kilauea. So the simple fact that these three are going off at the same time in this scenario, there's no need for worries, my friends. Not at the moment. And I know, famous last words, but, and yes, I know the Kamchatka Peninsula just last night had some earthquakes as well, or had some earthquakes, which caused a tsunami watch for Hawaii, but the tsunami watch was called off a few hours later, and once again, Alaska has a lot of earthquakes. I have no doubt in my mind that the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia has a lot of earthquakes. If you pay any attention to the United States earthquake monitoring, the United States Geological Service and their earthquake monitoring maps, a lot of these scare headlines are really kind of laughable, because there's an earthquake, there's multiple earthquakes almost every day in all of these locations. And as Andre just pointed out, Alaska's most recent was a 7.3 that struck off the Alaska Peninsula on July 16th. And it was a 7.5er last night off the Kamchatka Peninsula. And it's seismically active, ring of fire, etc. And so, and exactly, Andre, people in hurricane country are scared of earthquakes, and people in earthquake country are really scared of tornadoes and hurricanes. And Puzzycat, it could easily make a tsunami. Do you mean the underground one? It could easily make a tsunami. However, as it turns out, the most likely place for the tsunami to hit is a pretty uninhabited stretch of Pacific coastline in Oregon and Northern California. So honestly, not really that worried about it. And yeah, the one in the ocean. Yeah, that's what I figured you're talking about. And it trailed us. No earthquakes in Minnesota today. No tsunami worries. That is correct. But now this isn't Minnesota, but this is the Midwest. I have to ask you guys, did you know that Michigan, it's not Minnesota. I know Minnesota and Michigan are not the same, but did you know that Michigan has 2 time zones? And did you know that Michigan used to be in the Central Time Zone, but then Detroit decided it wanted to be in the Eastern Time Zone, and so slowly but surely the rest of the state went to the Eastern Time Zone? So these are our time zones, right? And so we've got the Pacific Time Zone, the West Coast, Best Coast Time Zone in the purple, and all of the West Coast states are in Pacific time except for part of Oregon, and that's where the Ore-Ida factory is. So they're all oriented with the Mountain Time Zone. And you know how everybody says that Arizona doesn't recognize daylight savings time? Well, if you look at this map, Arizona has a little light pink zone, and that's the Navajo lands. That's the Navajo reservation. So by the way, y'all, when I tell you that the Navajo reservation is flippin' huge, that's how big the Navajo reservation is. That tiny light pink rectangle in the upper corner of Arizona, that is all Navajo land, okay? And so they do recognize daylight savings time. So Arizona actually, in parts of it, and I recognize that the Navajo Nation is a sovereign nation and technically their land is not Arizona, but They are within the Arizona map, so I like to say technically they do, parts of it do, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about up next to Wisconsin and that mitten-shaped thing, Michigan, and the Michigan Upper Peninsula. If you'll see that some of the Upper Peninsula is green in the eastern, but some of it is not. And so Michigan takes the cake, I think, for being the most confusingly obnoxious time zone situation, because 4 of their counties belong to Central Time and the rest of them belong to Eastern Time. And I would imagine as some sort of airline pilot, social services dispatcher for cops or for whatever, that has got to be a nightmare. And I just learned about that today, so I thought I'd just share that. And the only 2 cities in the United States that have been hit by tsunamis are Crescent City in California and Hilo. Hilo got hit twice, though. Not at all surprised that Hilo got hit twice. And Crescent City would basically exactly be the city that would get hit with the axial seamount or whatever, if they had a tsunami coming from an explosion. No, not explosion. Eruption. Wow, words are hard. So there you have it. And Mama Sean is telling me that apparently, so hold on, let's go back here. Time zones. Apparently within the Navajo Nation, the Apache share that land, and the Apache also. Okay, let's see. What am I really asking here, Mama Sean? That light pink zone, are you telling... Please understand my tone is not confrontational. I'm asking for clarification, despite how it sounds. Are you telling me that Navajo, that light pink zone is both an Apache reservation and a Navajo reservation, and they both recognize? Or are you telling me that Apache and Hopi live on the Navajo reservation, but it's all the Navajo reservation? Because we have, because just because it's the Navajo reservation does not mean that it's only Navajo tribes that live. Multiple tribes live on the same reservation in a lot of parts of the country. So I'm not sure if you're telling me that it's an Apache reservation, a Hopi reservation, and a Navajo that are all there, or if that's just all Navajo reserve. From what I've read and what I understand, it's all Navajo, but I also know that I don't know. And Andre, yes, so what I am saying is that the Navajo Nation is on Indian time in Arizona. That is exactly it. So, okay, let's see here. Andre's coming in with the Navajo Nation is the largest reservation in the United States, and it's home to the Navajo people. There are not multiple tribes living... Whoa, hold on. There are not multiple tribes living on the Navajo reservation. The Navajo Nation is a sovereign nation and governs itself, while other tribes... Wait, where is it? May have members who live within the boundaries of the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation itself is not a multi-tribal reservation, according to the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation is located in parts of Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico. Okay. Well, that's the same area, but not just Navajo. Okay. We have Apache County and Navajo County. Right. All in the same area. Got it. Okay. But very interesting to learn that the Navajo Nation isn't a multi-tribal nation, because it is got so much land. I would have assumed that it was a multi-tribal situation. I know that a lot of the reservations in the Pacific Northwest are totally multi-tribal. So I just sort of assumed. And as Pussycat says, Florida is full of Indian people, countless tribes here, right? And I'm sure that they all sort of ended up sharing reservation land, not out of their choice, obviously, but you know, just the way it is. And Hopi actually has a little reservation within the Navajo reservation. Okay, see, that actually doesn't, I mean, it kind of surprised me, but that is sort of what I was thinking you might have been saying. And see, Honda, so good to see you here. I believe it was you who sent me the orca video that we're going to be watching today, or the topic of the orca video that we're going to be watching today. And so I'm very glad that you're here today for that. And let's see here. The Navajo Nation, often referred to as Navajo Land, is the home of the Navajo people, the Diné. It is the largest reservation in the United States and is solely inhabited by members of the Navajo. While the Navajo Nation is primarily composed of Navajo tribe, it's worth noting that historically, the Navajo clan system also included members from other native nations, such as the Zuni and the Mescalero Apache, who were referred to by specific Navajo clan names. It's also important to understand a lot of stuff, right? Yeah, it's also important to and I don't know what the rest of that is, but I'm sure it's going to say understand. And what it is important to understand, we have yet to find out. There's a lot of things that are as important to understand that we have yet to find out. That is the way of the world, as it were. So, Dr. Steve used to go up there and help them with their grants. Yeah, let me tell you, if it's one thing that you don't associate with Native Americans, but you should, is paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. Bureaucracy, bureaucracy, bureaucracy. Because they have so much paperwork that they have to do to be recognized by the federal government, to have the monies from the federal government, to this, that, and the other thing. It is ridiculous how much paperwork Native American people have to go through just to be Native American people. And Andre, finishing up with the knowledge, it's important to understand that Navajo Nation, along with the other indigenous tribes, exists within a broader context of federally and non-federally recognized tribes in the United States. Federal recognition grants tribes government-to-government relationship with the United States, allowing them access to federal services and a measure of sovereignty. However, even without federal recognition, many groups maintain tribal structures and traditions. Exactly. And Mama Sean, yeah, not sure who calls it Navajo land, but not down here. Honestly, Mama Sean, I've never heard that term either. Doesn't mean it's not being used. But yeah, when I read that, I was like, eyebrow raise. Really? Okay, I'm not sure about that, but someone thinks that, so we'll just let them say that. I'm not the one saying that, though. And let's see here. Yes, I'm good at, well, no, actually, Buzzycat, I'm not going to do another Lono listening break because I haven't even done a first Lono listening break. But will I be doing a Lono listening break? I will in about 2 minutes. No, in about 1 minute. So, while we sit here and make fun of the people who call it Navajo land, which actually we probably shouldn't, because I'm sure it's probably natives who live deep in the heart of Navajo land that call it that, and that would be mean to make fun of them for calling it that. But if it was like other people, I'm gonna be making fun of them. Okay. All right. Well, it looks like Pussycat can barely wait, and I'm sure that Kylo doesn't want to wait either. So why don't we start this Lono listening break a little bit early, because Lord knows we've started it late plenty times. So let's do it. Boop.
E hele pohaku, the traveling rocks of Molokai. Okay, sustain. Okay, Mo Mike. Key of A if you got him. Oh yeah. Kaulana o moloka ia hele pohaku mai waila ua wawa uluwehe Hana mene huni ke ia pola Haoli mene huni e mai a me ai One by one E hele pohaku to the other side E hele pohaku one by one E hele pohaku to the other side Pa 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 pohaku to the other side Kaulana o moloka ia hele pohaku Mai waila ua wawa uluwehe Hana mene huni ke ia pola Haoli mene huni e mai a me ai One by one E hele pohaku to the other side E hele pohaku one by one E hele pohaku to the other side Pa 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 pohaku to the other side Leiluna o mauna I ke mapule ma ke kai ku hone Ili ili o pai ka hale ko inoa Ele aku ka ko e pohaku o wailau One by one Ele pohaku to the other side Ele pohaku one by one Ele pohaku to the other side Pa 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 pohaku to the other side Hele iluna o mauna I ke mapule ma ke kai ku home Ili ili o pai ka hale ko inoa Hele aku ka ko e pohaku o wailau One by one Hele pohaku to the other side Hele pohaku one by one Hele pohaku to the other side Pa 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 pohaku to the other side Ia mai ana kapuana Moloka I ka homea Hele pohaku one by one Hele pohaku to the other side Hele pohaku one by one Hele pohaku to the other side Pa 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 pohaku to the other Let's go, Beriuni! Ia mai ana kapuana Moloka I ka ome ia hele pohaku One by one Hele pohaku to the other side Hele pohaku one by one Hele pohaku to the other side Pa 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 pohaku to the other side Traveling Rocks of Molokai. E hele pohaku.
All right, excellent. I knew that Kylo would love that song. I'm super stoked that Kylo is dancing away. And hey, Devil's Lake Food, or let's see here, hold on. Devil's Lake Food, your Molokai music fix is in the house, in the bag. And if you listen in the background a little bit, you can still hear some Molokai music. Now, unfortunately, I don't know how long this has been an issue, but I just noticed today that Lono's website is down. So as of this very second in time, you're not able to go there to buy any of his music. But normally you'd be able to go to lonomusic.com and get words, lyrics, chord changes for all of the, for his music. And then, of course, you would be able to buy his albums there, or his downloads, excuse me. But right now, I guess there's a little bit of a technical hiccup. I'm not sure how long it's been that way, but I'm going to be shooting him an email once I'm done with the stream today to let him know that he needs to get his tech people on that. Fix at. Because I'm guessing he does not know. Because why would he know? How often does he visit his own website, right? That's just not something I think he probably does. So, let's see here. What else do we have today to talk about? A couple other things. One of the things is, let's see here, is something that C Honda shared with me. And I've been seeing this coming across my feed a little bit. And so, C Honda, you were just at his website a few days ago. Okay, cool. And so it was okay a few days ago? Awesome. Then it hasn't been very long since it's screwed up. And you know, maybe it's not, I mean, it might be just screwed up for me. I tried with 2 different browsers though, and it came back as a WordPress error both times. So if somebody is feeling bored and wants to check the lonomusic.com website right now and verify that it's not up for them as well, maybe it's my internet connection, but it looked like it was coming from the actual website, from the error messages that I got. And JBCP13, you blame the magma. Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely blame the magma. Yes, there we go. Well, one thing I don't think you can blame the magma for, you can only blame, critical error. That's what I got. That's exactly what I got, was a critical WordPress error. So it sounds like it's probably, yes. So, okay, cool. So everybody's on the same page now. Lono's page does not work. And so I will be shooting him a little message, letting him know that it's not working. And hopefully he'll get his people on that, because he has people for that. He's had people for that for many, many years. And let's see here. Nope, Pele got nothing to do with it. No, that is right. Probably not. I'm thinking that Lono's hopefully in good graces with Pele. We'll see though. And so, okay, so everybody's getting it. Okay, good. Exactly. The Lono Librarian gotta keep things in order. And anyway, speaking of order, this is not the usual order of things we like to think. And it's happening not just in the United States waters, it's happening all over. It just so happens, though, that it's a local set of scientists that are studying this phenomena. But orcas, I think, nobody knows why orcas are doing this. But I think that orcas, I think they want to make us pets. I think orcas want to have us as pets. I think that they think we'd make great pets. And yes, that is a song. But if you are wondering, what is she talking about? She's nuts. You're right, I am nuts. But this is what I'm talking about.
A groundbreaking new study is looking at the psychology of our killer whales. Researchers say orcas are bringing their food to share with other animals, and even people. It's a behavior happening off the coast of multiple countries. The study marks one of the first times the sharing behavior has been identified in non-domesticated animals. To learn more about this exciting study, we're joined by one of its authors, Jared Towers, a Vancouver Islands-based cetology. Thank you for being here, Jared.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I've heard of cats leaving a dead mouse on their family's doorstep. Is this orca behavior similar to that?
Well, it's not indifferent. One of the main differences is that these killer whales were wild, not habituated or domesticated or trained in any way. So that really marks the primary difference right there.
So in your research, if a person didn't accept the orca's offering, how did that whale react?
Well, typically the whales would wait for a human response. And if people didn't respond by accepting the offering, which was the most common response from the people. It happened to me twice, and I was so awestruck that I didn't even know what to do, but that was quite common. In all these cases, or at least in almost all of them, the whales then grabbed the item, whatever they had left, and either departed with it, shared it with other killer whales, or offered it back to the people.
So does this mean that orcas want to be friends with humans?
I think it's really them exploring the capacity of people to engage in reciprocity, first and foremost. And if there's a benefit in that reciprocity, then it could develop into some kind of bond or relationship over time. But that's really a next step that hasn't occurred, thankfully.
Jared, how are we just now discovering this? What has led up to this magnificent discovery in some of your research?
Well, I think this is something that's probably happened over the course of many years. And it's just that now it's really coming to light that when you look at different killer whale populations all around the world, that the killer whales have occasionally offered people food. And what we did in our research was we combined all those different cases from 4 different oceans and several different killer whale populations to summarize what this really means.
Do we know why? Do we know what it means yet? Do you have any hunches maybe you could share with us?
Yeah, I think it really highlights that the killer whales are very evolved, and they have the capacity to know that we have different perspectives than their own, and that they may just be testing the waters with us and asking questions of their own about who we are.
Interesting. I wonder if they're communicating below the surface too, maybe telling some of their friends. Okay, so maybe we wouldn't recommend the average person doing this, I'm assuming, but what if a person did bring an offering to orca? What would you expect, or what would you advise?
Well, I think if it was the other way around, it's not something that, would normally be advisable. But I think if a killer whale was to bring something to a person, in like the cases in our paper, we'd really advise that people don't accept the offering and engage with the animal. Just wait and document it and, savor that moment, because people and killer whales both really have the capacity to harm each other, even unintentionally. So it's best to just keep them wild and keep us different.
Well, just appreciate, be in awe, but do not approach. That's great advice. Jared Towers, we look forward to more of your research. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
A groundbreaking new study is looking at the psychology of our killer whales. Researchers say...
Oops, I have everything on loop. Sorry for that. So, yes, exactly. Terry in Scotland says, Smithsonian Magazine, orcas appear to be sharing their prey with humans. What does that mean? It suggests that they are maybe altruistic, capable of recognizing sentience in another species. Sentience in another species. Yes, I think that first off, actually, I feel like that Smithsonian Magazine article is written from an incredibly human biased point of view, obviously. Human with a superiority complex wrote that piece of copy. Absolutely. You think Does any scientist in the world actually think that orcas aren't aware that other beings might be... Oh, yeah. Wow, I have a lot of anger actually towards what that was. All that is so... Do they really think that... Did it ever really... Did any human ever think that dolphins or orcas weren't aware of recognizing sentience in another species? That, just because humans aren't able to recognize that, does not mean that other species of animals are unable to recognize that. That is an incredibly arrogant point of view, in my opinion. And frankly, I think, and I was being a little facetious when I said they want to make us pets. But what I do wonder is, first off, orcas are social creatures. They have a social pack, as it were. Pods is, I guess, what they're called. And much like humans, if you're eating something and someone comes over to your house, you offer them what you're eating. Oh, you came in the middle of dinner, share a plate. Right? I mean, to me, that sort of seems like what, it's like orcas, if there's feeding going on and there's other orcas in the pod that are there, every orca gets fed. Oh, suddenly this stranger comes to our house. Well, we need to feed them too. And also, doesn't it also maybe make sense that orcas recognize, like, well, this is a strange thing that's not in its usual territory. Maybe it needs some hospitality from us to help it on its journey. It just like the Bedouins, if they saw some random schmo walking through the desert that they've never seen before, the Bedouins might say, hey, come get some shade, here's some water, have some bread, go on with your bad self, but here's a little bit of a pit stop to help you on your way. I feel like there's a lot of different psychological, and I realize I'm anthropomorphizing it, I'm putting a lot of human values on the orcas, but at the same time, to me, it just seems logical, if they've already got a communal sense of caring for one another, that could extend to some random pet or animal. If you see a dog that looks like it needs a bowl of water, do you not put a bowl of water out for it, even if it's not your own dog, even if you don't know where that dog's going to? I do. Why is it so hard to believe that maybe the orcas don't have a similar sense of altruism, I guess, right? And so, but orcas around Spain are attacking boats and not giving food. So some orcas do not agree with being nice to the humans and their boats. Oh, for sure. Well, every family's got their own biases. And, the Hatfields did not like the McCoys. So that orca family just does not like yachts. It's just how that goes. Anthropomorphizing may be a bridge too far, Molly. Well, it's certainly a bridge too far for my tongue. I can't say the word that I was trying to say. And I do recognize that what I was putting upon them is very much that word, anthropomorphizing. But I still feel like it's very arrogant for humans to assume that orcas don't know how to share and be good neighbors. And let's see here. It looks like Elaine is here with the splotchy interwebs, and sometimes you lose a few seconds, but you're here trying to follow the chat. So awesome. Good to see you, Elaine, and I'm so glad that you're trying to be here, even if the technology is not letting you. And let's see here. Carl Safina, says Terry, an author and ecologist at Stony Brook University, is not surprised that the orcas are willing to share their food with humans. These highly intelligent creatures understand us, including our sentience, and seem to comprehend the world better than we do. See, I am much more comfortable with that statement than what the Smithsonian had to say about that. Huh. And exactly, Shock, other social animals have been known to take care of non-species members. Right, and so to me it sort of seems like we as humans in a little boat in the middle of the water where we're not supposed to be, really. The orca's like, well, where are you from, little muffin? You're far from home, little cutie boot. Oh, that's so cute. But you need some, I don't know where you're going, little muffin, but you must need some sustenance. Let me give you some sustenance, little muffin. Dolphins will take you back to shore. Right, exactly. And maybe the orca would have too. Hold on to this dead seal. I'll take you back to where you need to go. I don't know. All I'm saying is, I think that people aren't giving the orcas enough credit for their social skills, interspecies social skills, then I don't think they're giving them enough credit for their interspecies social skills, is what I'm trying to say. And those fiery Mediterranean orcas being anarchists that don't like the rich in their boats. Well, first off, those Mediterranean personalities, we know they're hotheads. The Spaniards come from the Mediterranean. The Italians come from the Mediterranean. You know they're hotheads, right? So it makes sense that the orcas would be hotheads too. Okay, that was a vast generalization, and I'm sorry for anybody who might be an Italian or a Spaniard who's not a hothead. And let's see here. And as Shock points out, the Mediterranean is a much smaller body of water than wide open ocean, and maybe the noise bothers them a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot of hypotheses on that. One of them is that they actually just liked how the rudders feel on their skin, and so then they just started, they weren't necessarily attacking, they were trying to get all up in it, which then, like the guy said, humans can inadvertently hurt orcas, and orcas can inadvertently hurt humans, which is why it's best not to interact, you know? So I'm just wondering if maybe that the orcas were just having fun, but the humans were like, dude, this is not fun. This is not fun. You need to stop. This is patently unfun for me. This might be fun for you, but it's not fun for me. I do not consent to this fun. And maybe they're taking barnacles off for the sailors. Well, perhaps. Or maybe they were scratching their own ears, because they had barnacles behind their ears or something. I don't know. But exactly, JBCP, passionate. That's what the Mediterraneans are. They're passionate. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool, but right. Naked sock puppet interspecies relationships. This is my orca. This is my human. Orca, human. It's exactly, truer words have never been spoken, and I'm sure that this is a cross-species truth. No one likes an itchy blowhole. That's right. It's all the seafood for both species. Well, true. Not the naked sock puppet. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. We got naked sock puppets. Can we get a graph? No, I don't have a graph. It's funny you should say that, because I did earlier have something that did have a graph on it, but I don't have that anymore. That's right. We're naked. And let's see here. I bet no orcas have ever offered anything to Donnie John. They are smarter than some humans. Well, I'm not so sure that Donnie John's ever been near an orca because he generally likes to be in Florida waters. And as we already discussed, with Pussycat, orcas aren't really that common around Florida waters. Although it sounds like there was one off of Key Largo in 2023, somebody posted. So, either way, it sounds like it would be a very rare interspecies crossing if that ever happened. And Andre, just be glad that we're not fat enough to be on an orca menu. That's exactly it. For those of you who aren't familiar with that topic, I went into depth about a year ago on why we don't get eaten as human beings by sharks and things like that on a very regular basis. And the reason why is because we don't have enough flesh to bone ratio. We've got too many bones, not enough flesh. And our flesh is like 10 times saltier than the flesh that they normally eat on. So basically we're too bony, too chewy, and too salty for their palate. We would have to be what humans would call an acquired taste. Too bony, too chewy, too salty. As Shock says, like all the food at Panda Express. Exactly, otherwise known as an acquired taste. Too bony, too chewy, too salty. That's why we don't get it. And Terry in Scotland says there have been a few orca sightings around Florida, but they are rare enough to get folks excited when they occur. Exactly. Well, I mean, actually, you know what, Terry in Scotland? Rightfully so, because the reality is when we see orcas in Seattle, we get excited, and it's not rare at all. In fact, it's kind of expected to look out there and maybe at one point in your life see an orca in the water. It's, at least once a year they make their round. And so, and even still, it's exciting when you see one. So, oh gosh darn it, Pussycat, my stream keeps dropping. That is, I think that's your server that's the issue. None of my frames have dropped according to my source. So, I don't think that's my source. And let's see here. Has Cocaine Bear been discussed? No, I don't think we've discussed Cocaine Bear. Certainly not today, and definitely not recently. And hey, Kenny from the Cove, good to see you. We are talking about a lot of randomness. Right now, we're talking about why we don't get eaten by orcas. And Elaine, but I love sucking on Aku, bony and a bit chewy. Like I said, Elaine, we're an acquired taste. I have no doubt that at some point, one orca is going to be like, yeah, let me try it. And he'll be like, oh no, grinds. And then he's going to bring a piece of us to his friends. And one of them's going to sniff it and go, no way. And then the other one's going to go, brah, hand it over. And he's going to chomp it. And he's like, oh, dude, where'd you get that? We got to get more. Tastes like crack seed. That's exactly how that conversation went or is going to go. I promise you. And my dad had a friend once who shot a robin and he made that guy eat it. That's not a lot of dinner for all that work. And maybe that's why workers won't eat us. I think you mean orcas won't eat us. And I think that that's exactly it. There's just not enough flesh to make it worth their while. And the flesh that we have is also too salty. Now, lions and orcas have enjoyed people. Okay, first off, JBCP13. I don't think orcas have necessarily eaten a lot of people. Granted, there is an orca that has killed a fork ton of people, but that orca was in captivity. And I don't consider that a valid metric of typical orca behavior. And as far as the lions go, well, I don't know how salty their usual prey is. So they might, like what they normally eat, might be just as salty as us. So we might not be an acquired taste for lions. we might be right up their alley for gourmet eats. Yeah, we like things bony and chewy and salty. Oh, heck yeah, that's right up, that's what we like. Give me that aku. Give me that human. And let's see here. And the cannibals call humans long pig. Yeah, long pig or long pork. Absolutely, absolutely. And from what I understand, we kind of taste like it too. So there you go. And yes, actually, Pussycat, I feel like you had more than one fatal kill at SeaWorld, because I think the orca that I'm referring to is the one that has killed multiple people, and they were all his trainers, and yeah, she was drowned by the orca. Yep, exactly. And E-Music, have you been hanging out with cannibals? Now the cannibals call human long spam. And let's see here. Kenny has a different logic as to why he doesn't get eaten by orcas. And I dare say that Kenny's logic is fairly sound. I don't get eaten by orcas because the internet is as close as I get to those panda whales. Proximity or lack thereof can save lives. Science. And that is true. That is very true. And yeah, multiple accidents at the SeaWorld from what I understand. And I don't think the orcas would consider those accidents. I think they would consider them very much on purpose. A pointed attack to make a pointed point about how he doesn't want to be here anymore. So, alrighty, so let's see here. Rick and Darlene aren't here, as we've decided, as we've noticed. They are up north at their cabin. And I swear to goodness, this is not what I mean to do. But every time Tillicum is dead. It died a few years ago. Yeah, and it's Tillicum who I'm talking about. It's Tillicum who I am talking about, who killed multiple people, and maybe the first one was on accident, but I don't think so. It was on purpose. Yes, exactly. And Terry in Scotland, in captivity, orcas have been involved in several attacks on humans, but this is in captivity, y'all, not normal. With 4 recorded fatalities. These include the deaths of Kelty Lee in 91, Don Brancho in 2010, and 2 other incidents involving the orca Tillicum. Yes, Tillicum is definitely known to be the one that has the highest body count, and prison makes people and orcas there for a long time a bit psychotic. That is exactly right. I mean, come on, you're just circling the same tank over and over again. Yeah. But to get back onto Rick and Darlene are not circling a tank over and over again. Rick and Darlene are not planning on killing a killer whale or killing other people. Rick and Darlene are not in prison. Rick and Darlene are having a time of their life, and because they're having a time of their life, they're not here, which is unfortunate because I'm about to talk about them, sort of, a little bit, just a little bit. I was wanting to talk about them because look at what Darlene did. Look at what she did. That's right. She grew a big red sunflower. And when I saw the big red sunflower that she grew, I thought, wow, that's really pretty. But I also remembered, hey, here's a little fun trivial fact. Did you know that every single commercially grown red sunflower is actually can be traced back to one red sunflower that randomly got noticed in Boulder, Colorado. And thanks to the sharp eye of the lady who saw it, she and her husband dug it up. She was looking at these wild sunflowers across the street from her yard. and she noticed this red butterfly on one of them, and she thought, oh, that's so neat, red butterfly. And then a few hours later, she went back and she was like, whoa, that red butterfly's still there. That's weird. So she actually went across the street and looked at the red butterfly, and it wasn't a red butterfly, it was a red sunflower. So her and her husband dug the sunflower up and brought it across the street to their garden, where they then planted it. And turns out it was a really good thing they did that, because the very next day, the city came in and weed whacked all of the wild sunflowers that had been in that lot. They decided to try to pollinate their red sunflower, and in doing so, they ended up creating the first line of seeds that were that had red. And here is a little video about that history.
Wilmot Porter Cockrell and her husband Theodore traveled the world collecting and documenting hundreds of species of insects. But her most exquisite discovery came on a busy roadside close to home, blooming in a spot most others would have overlooked. Wilmot was born in Iowa and moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico after graduating from Stanford University in 1898. 2 years later, she met Theodore when she began teaching biology at New Mexico Normal University, now New Mexico Highlands University. A self-taught entomologist from England, Theodore Cockrell published descriptions of over 9,000 species, making him one of the most prolific taxonomists in history. In the summer of 1910, during an afternoon stroll near their new home in Boulder, Colorado, Wilmot noticed an unusual red-colored sunflower in a stand of wild sunflowers growing in the ditch. She dug it up, took it home, and gave it safekeeping in her garden. Wild-growing sunflowers are of the genus Helianthus, a group that comprises around 70 species. All of them are native to North and Central America. Sunflowers are typically tall perennials with bright yellow petals and florets. Wilmot's discovery was a sport, a spontaneous genetic mutation, one of a kind. Since wild populations of sunflowers are typically self-incompatible, meaning that more than one flower is required in order to produce seeds, Cockrell knew that she would need to introduce pollen from a second sunflower if she wanted to propagate her unusual discovery. She knew about the principles of Gregor Mendel, an Augustinian monk who had studied plant genetics and experimented by cross-pollinating and observing common garden peas in the mid-19th century. He was ahead of his time, yet his discoveries languished in the shadow of Charles Darwin for a generation. In 1900, though, just 10 years before Cockrell stumbled on that sunflower, 3 scientists independently verified Mendel's experiments. His work has become the foundation of our modern understanding of heredity, earning Mendel the posthumous title of the father of modern genetics. Within a few growing seasons, Cockrell stabilized the gorgeous red color of this new sunflower, and it was ready to be shared with the world. Sutton and Son Seed Company of Reading, England, introduced the new red sunflower in 1914. More retailers picked it up the following year. Morse's Garden Guide of 1915 said that the long, slender stems and the graceful poise of the flowers with their varied coloring make them very effective and desirable for vasing. That same year, the Cockrells received a medal for their work on these unique sunflowers at the Panama Pacific International Exposition in San Francisco. These amazing sunflowers were so prized for their novelty that in 1916, Burpee offered a blend of red sunflower seeds as a free gift to their customers as a 40th anniversary promotion. Cockrell grew some of the seeds herself. Others were produced at Burpee's Fort Hook farm. Customers also received a copy of her essay about finding and breeding the plant. It's believed that all of the red sunflowers we enjoy today descended from this singular, unique flower that Wilmot Cockrell saved from the roadside that day more than 100 years ago. Baker Creek Heirloom Seed Company continues the story of the red sunflower with a dazzling selection of Helianthus varieties, including the gorgeous red sun and the wonderful autumn beauty. Thanks so much for watching.
I keep restarting the intro. I don't mean to do that. So, let's see here. Intentionally cross-pollinating popes is strictly forbidden, my friends. At least that's what it says in the doctrine. Alrighty, so I thought it was I just think it's so neat how one little random flower can create a whole new beauty of flowers, because I personally think that red sunflowers are pretty awesome looking. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy a yellow sunflower. In fact, I've got a yellow sunflower right there on my arm. By the way, don't get this area tattooed if you don't need to. Whoo-wee. And but the red ones though really are quite spectacular. And I have to say, even though I'm not necessarily a huge fan of flowers, any flower that is both red and yellow, and like a yellow rose that has red trim, or like a Scotch broom that has a little bit of red in it, or a sunflower. Flowers that are red and yellow at the same time, they're my favorites. I love them. They make me so happy. Yeah, so now you know a little something about me. And I like them elite colors. I do, as it turns out. It's a beautiful color combo. It really, really is. So all right. We have got 4 minutes until the bottom of the hour, and I don't know if I have a whole lot left to talk about, but I did want to say that I have canceled my Factor. I've canceled my Factor food subscription, and I have to tell you, it was kind of hard for me to do, but I instead signed up for a different food subscription, and this is not a sponsorship. This is not a promotion. This is nothing. There's no nothing. But, so my Factor 6 meals would come to me every week in a cardboard box, wrapped in, some kind of insulating material, along with, a couple ice blocks. Dude. Cook Unity is bougie as They ain't got time for no cardboard box, y'all. They ain't got no need for extra wrapping and packaging. Do you want to know how Cook Unity delivers your free meal, your pre-made meals? In a bag. And they don't ask for it back. Oh, whoops. Sorry about that. They don't ask for it back. It's a tote bag. It's a cold, hot tote bag. So that's kind of bougie. I mean, that's kind of cool. And then another thing that's kind of cool is, when you order the food here, they're actually made by individual chefs. Like I said, this is not a promotion. I've not tried them yet. They just came today. What, pray tell, is bougie? Bourgeois. You know, fancy pants, expensive, like high-end, bougie. You know, you go to a boutique to buy your specially made cat food because you're bougie. It's bourgeois. And Kenny from the Cove. But you have kittens to consider. They need those boxes. They probably demand them. Don't worry, Kenny. We are of no shortage of boxes in this house. And Cook Unity does sound like a political party for cooks, but it's not. And anyway, so they give you your never frozen meals, and Factor. Those meals come in a plastic container, and the only instructions they have for cooking them is in the microwave. Cook Unity meals come in a cardboard that you can put in the oven or in the microwave. The instructions are both for the oven or the microwave. There's the chef instructions, which is the oven. And then there's the fast instructions, which is the microwave. But here's the coolest thing, y'all. You get to see, do you see who that is? That picture of that person, that's the chef who made this meal. Every single meal, I got 8 of them. And by the way, Cook Unity is cheaper than Factor. Cook Unity, every single meal you get tells you what chef made it, and they all have their picture on the on it. So I think that is just the cutest thing. I don't know how good it's gonna be, and when do we get a live tasting, says Kenny from the Cove. Well, had I been thinking, we could have today, because I'm really hungry. I'm gonna be eating this after we get off the live stream. This is my chili, and it's got beans in it. I know, I'll survive. But the chili also comes with some cheddar cheese, some sour cream, and a lime. And so I think I don't know if I'm going to be using Cook Unity because the code this time made it super cheap. But if I actually pay full price, it is kind of expensive. But at the same time, I feel like, I mean, as Factor was good quality food, but I feel like this might be better. So I'm very curious. And Picola Tea, it sounds like, at the stoplight long enough to say hello and goodbye. Good to see you, Picola Tea. And the cardboard is nice, way easier to recycle. Andre, to me, the cardboard is what absolutely makes them a better product than Factor. Obviously, the flavor is going to be the final test, and I haven't tested that yet. But as far as packaging goes, Cook Unity wins hands down. The recyclable, and then also, I mean, what is this? This is a really big bag, you guys. This is a really, really, really big bag. You know? And then let's see here. So, and apparently Cook Unity is say yes to supporting local chefs. Your meals are handcrafted, not mass-produced, by your city's best independent chefs. Every dish ordered supports your local chef community to expand their reach and create more. So my best guess is, if you live in Arizona, you're not going to get this chili made by Chase Evans. Because Chase Evans lives near me. And so you're going to have a whole different thing. But I'm going to assume that they're going to be packaged in similar packages. And that is right. Mostatter don't allow no microwaves around here. That's right. I'm anti-microwave. Although I have to say, and I know that I've gone a little bit long now, I have a friend who is trying to give me her microwave, and it's both a microwave and an air fryer at the same time. Neither of those appliances do I have in my house. But I will admit, if I can get a 2-in-1 appliance, like a microwave / air fryer, I don't know how that works, though. That confuses me. I might, one day there might be a microwave in my house. The idea pains me, but at the same time, I am intrigued. An air fryer / microwave all in one, 2 units. I do enjoy that. So, and so if I order their chili, since I'm in Texas, will it come without Abominations beans in it? Kenny, I can't promise you that. This one does have beans in it, and you know how I feel about beans in chili. I'm not a fan. But I can tell you this, they do not call it Texas chili, they call it Mexican-inspired beef chili. So, if they called it Texas chili and they had the beans, Houston, we've got a problem. But they didn't call it Texas chili. So I don't really know. Kenny, if you're feeling rich, go look up the Cook Unity and order yourself some Texas chili and see if it comes with beans. And And let's see here. E-Music, don't get the microwave. Honestly, E-Music, I really agree with that. I'm gonna have to look at the appliance to make the final decision. But I'm really leaning towards no. But since I haven't actually seen it yet, I can't. It's still a soft maybe. Leaning towards no. And trust me, y'all, you'll be the first ones to hear if I have broken my no microwave stance. Because if you've been hanging out for the 3.5 years, 4 years, however many years we've been doing this, 4 years, you know microwave is no go in this house. And chili is meat. Beans is means. I don't know what you mean by beans is means, but beans and chili for me are not a thing. Everybody else thinks that it is. There you go. And yeah, Andre, your truth stabs my soul. Andre is here with the truth. The rat will take the microwave out anyway. It's like he's been here. Yeah. So, that's right. For those of you who don't know, I had a rat. I had another rat. And all my rats, well, they eat my appliances. And so, if I get yet another appliance, they will just eat the wires out of that appliance. And I won't have that appliance anymore, just like the 2 dishwashers that the rats ate. Oh, beans is means on the gassishness. Yes, I get it. All right, well, now that we're talking about farts, we know that we've gone too far. And we're 6 minutes past the bottom of the hour, which means we're 6 minutes late, which doesn't surprise me at all. So, let's round this up. It is, I'm going to say it's a Sunday. And I don't know, does anyone know, is Andy going to be on Monday or on Tuesday this week? Anyone know? Anyone? We will see each other, hopefully, here. He should be on Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday and Friday. And Kenny from the Cove, if you get a chance to have a microwave that's also an air fryer, go for it. I have both and use them a lot. And, yeah, people love their air fryer. Everybody digs on their air fryer. And I am more interested in the air fryer version of that, or the air fryer part of that appliance than the microwave. But let's see here. So, okay, so Monday, you guys are going to have Monday off. I'm not going to be around on Monday. Andy's not going to be around on Monday. You guys can do whatever you want on Monday. But on Tuesday, Andy Bumatai, 3:30 p.m. 3:30 p.m. Hawaii time. He's going to be on. I'm going to be there. And then Wednesday, 5 p.m. West Coast time, we'll have another chatter show. And who knows what we're going to be talking about. But what I can tell you is next Saturday, we're going to watch The Princess Bride. We've already watched it before, but I feel like I want to watch it again. So there we have it, Rabbit. 8 minutes past the bottom of the hour. We went on too long. Thanks for hanging out for the extra 8 minutes. We will see each other hopefully on Wednesday and hopefully on Tuesday. All right, y'all. Take care. Have a good one.